Inuyasha, Kagome! Inuyasha, Kagome! Okay, to be serious, yes, this is obviously Inuyasha, and come on, we had to all make that joke. So yes, Inuyasha is one of the most popular animes within the year 2000s. And there was a lot of people I knew that watched it. In fact, that was the reason why I watched it, because someone introduced it to me. So yeah, I watched this show when I was pretty young. I think I was about like 12. And at the time, I did kind of like it. I mean, it wasn't like my favorite anime of all time or anything like that, but I mean, it was watchable and I kind of liked it. And it's definitely been a long time since I've last seen it, so I figured I might as well revisit it. So here's what you need to know about the story. The story begins with Kagome, and she lives with her family, which is pretty average. But when the cat leaves the house, it ends up leaving and walks up to a creepy looking well called Enchired Boneater's Well. But just before she's about to retrieve it, a freaky looking centipede kind of thing pops out of it and drags her into it, and then when she comes out of the well, she's end up in another place. And the other place happens to be 500 years ago back in the Fudo, Japan, also known as the Sengoku era. So far, it kind of sounds like the Wizard of Oz. In fact, they even make a reference to that because as soon as she gets out of the well, she says, "Looks like we're not in Tokyo anymore." Just replace the word Kansas with Tokyo. Anyways, you get the idea. So while she's trying to figure out where the hell she is, she ends up finding a guy stuck in a tree with an arrow into him, who happens to be Inuyasha with his dog ears. But they get attacked by the creepy centipede looking thing. And that thing is after a jewel that is inside Kagome for some reason. But once it gets out, they realize that that jewel is actually very important. And of course Inuyasha wants to be freed by the seal, so he can get that jewel. And Inuyasha keeps on thinking that Kagome is someone else known as Kikyo, who is the person that shot the arrow that sealed Inuyasha into the tree. So, of course, Inuyasha is all pissed off and wants to kill Kagome, but he ends up getting a necklace over him that happens to be a curse where every time that Kagome says sit, he ends up like getting his face planted. So they defeat the damn demented thing, and they ended up trying to work together, but they always argue all the time. But when they are fighting this one demon that happens to be a crow, the jewel ends up getting shattered into a bunch of different pieces. So now it's just a big scavenger hunt for trying to get every single shard of the jewel. And then they meet a bunch of people after that, and yeah, I'm gonna stop it right there, because this anime is actually pretty damn long. And I'll be quite honest with you, I do like the concept quite a bit, but unfortunately, there are issues. Now, one thing I will say is that this anime, yes, it is long, but I think with something like this, they made it a bit too long. I find it feels like it just drags on too much, and it doesn't help that there's like a shit ton of fillers. Now I know there's a lot of animes out there that have filler episodes and whatnot, but it seems like in this one they have way too damn many. And not only that, but most of the filler episodes, their ideas for them are just fucking boring. Now as for some of the other main characters, they're okay, I guess. I mean, they're not like the worst characters I've ever seen, but they're definitely not anything that's really memorable. I mean, the only thing I can really remember is that Maraku could be kind of amusing at times. And Kagome is at least a likable character. But that's pretty much it, what I have to say for that. I mean, Inuyasha's character is kind of just okay, I guess. And Sango's is known for having a huge-ass boomerang, and, well, yeah, she's okay, I guess, too. And finally, there's Shippo. And, he's kind of annoying. And see, and that's another problem I have with this anime altogether, is that it's just so okay. But before we conclude things, we're gonna take a look at other things, such as, like, animation. And the animation actually looks pretty good sometimes. I will give it credit for that. But the other times, it does look good. It's just, you know, not, like, impressive good. Especially for the year 2000. But, I don't know. Maybe I'm just jumping ahead of things. But, in all honesty, though, yeah, it just looks good. And I have really no big complaints. And as for the voice acting, it's not very good. Now, to be fair, it's not the worst thing I ever heard. In fact, it's not terrible. It's just not good. Or better words I could say, the match with every other word that I've said is, it's just okay. The only voice actor that I actually recognize and that I know pretty well is Brian Drummond. And he plays a couple of random people, but none of the main characters. But as for the main cast, like I said, it's just okay. Now, before I give the score, I'm gonna say one thing real quick. And that is, this anime is definitely not nearly as good as I remember it. In fact, I find it to be kind of boring. Which is very strange because I actually do like the concept of it. In fact, the first couple episodes that actually got me interested into it again. But then until later on, like I said, it dragged on and it got really boring and bland and just so mediocre. And it's a damn shame. So now as for the score, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. Yeah, I'm sorry guys, but I just really did not like this one very much. And as I already said, back then when I first watched this when I was like 12 years old, I liked it, but it wasn't like my favorite thing ever. I mean, I would rather watch other animes I was watching at that time. But now that I'm rewatching it again, it's like, wow, what the fuck? I don't remember it being like this at all. But to be on a positive note, I don't think it's the worst anime ever. In fact, you can get a hell of a lot worse than this, but it really is kind of mediocre. Well, actually, mediocre would be in the middle. This is like below average, mainly because of the fact that the show is just so okay that it's kind of forgettable. And thinking about it now, before when I watched this show again, I actually couldn't even remember anything. I wonder why. So that's really all I have to say about Inuyasha. Yeah, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with me on this one, considering how popular this anime was. But it happened, so oh well.